Hi all, welcome to the channel. My name's Mike and this is Build and Tinker, and we're continuing today with our build of the 1966 Batmobile from DeAgostini Fanhome. We're issues 17 and 18 today, which are more chassis components, which we're going to attach to the chassis rails that we put together in the last video. So let's get building. So these are the parts that we get with issue 17, and we'll just take them out of the packaging. So we have a front suspension arm, a front cross member, and we have a bracket as well. There we go. And a couple of packets of screws. These parts are both metal. This one's really chunky. That's a great piece. So great to see some big parts coming together. So we start with the what they call this bracket the bumper, and it goes on the underside of this suspension arm. So it's asymmetric. There's a large hole on this end, and that has to go facing away. So I've got the piece with the single mounting point to my left, and then this just sits on top with the hole facing away from me. And we put two AM screws in to hold it into place. The next stage is a preparation stage. We did something similar to this on the engine block. They just want us to install a couple of screws to prepare the threads and then remove them again. The screws are AHM, quite long. And the holes they want us to prepare are these large posts here that stick out the front. Might start it by hand. I'm not sure how far they want us to put them. So we don't screw them in all the way. They seem to go about halfway in, and then we'll just gently remove them back out. Same on the other screw hole. Okay, so we've put those in, take them out again. There's quite a lot of people that will tell you that when you're screwing the metal screws into metal that you need to use some 3-in-1 oil, and they're probably right. Lots of people do. It does help the screw go in easier without cross-threading. I didn't think to bring any, so I will probably start doing that. But to be fair, I've rarely used oil. It does seem to work without, but it probably make your life a lot easier if you used it. The next step is to take the this large cross member piece. We want the large studs that we've just prepared. We want those facing us, and then these end pieces. There's a curve to it, so we want those curved upwards. I'm going to take our suspension arm, and we're going to attach it onto this first stud here on the left. We're going to use one of the HM screws, which is why they're so long. So it goes through here and into that. And there we have it. That's attached. Another very short issue because that was the final stage. So let's take a look at issue 18. Well, issue 18 starts with a bit of deja vu. It's basically very similar to the assembly pieces from the previous one. We have the other lower suspension arm, we have the other bracket, bumper as they call it, and then we have another piece which is the engine mount bracket. Very similar to the last issue, we start by assembling the bumper onto the lower suspension arm, and in exactly the same way it sits over the top. It's literally just a mirror image of the previous one. We should have some screws, so we start with AM. I'm going to use up the last AM from the last packet, and we also have some more AMs, some CMs, and a couple more AHMs. So this AM screw here goes into this bumper. And one more on the other side. We then take the engine mount, and there are two posts on the front here, screw holes in. Again, we are preparing these screws with the AHM just to make it easier to fit them in later. So start it gently, make sure it's straight, keep your fingers out the way. And I'm actually using the spare screw from the last issue, because that way if the head gets a little bit damaged or the threads get a little bit damaged, it's not so big a deal because I'm not using the screw again. And all it is we're just taking the paint out of the thread. We now take the pieces from issue 17 and we're going to attach the other suspension lower arm bracket using an AHM screw. That simply screws in like this. And those are our two lower suspension arms. We now take the engine bracket, and with the curve facing downwards, it's going to attach to the other two ends of these arms. Again, using the long AHM screws. They go in from the back here. I'm going to spin all of that round. So now we take the chassis piece that we assembled in issue 16 and this piece we've just assembled, and we need to bring them together. So we need to feed the lower suspension arms underneath, like this, and the brackets sit on top. And they drop into 4 cutouts in the chassis, and there are 4 posts. You see that? There we go. There are 4 posts here, and the whole thing drops in with this suspension arms underneath. If we sit that just like that, we can put 4 CM screws in to hold it together. Great, so now we have the chassis with this suspension component added, and that gives us the main engine bracket as well, which is the big curved piece just here. So if we keep it upside down, well, actually that's the right way up, I think. That is actually the top. The open side is the top. And now we need the engine. So this is where we need to make sure we don't knock any bits off of the engine as we fit it. It should be reasonably easy to install. The engine sits onto some mounting points here on this curved bracket. And where are they? Okay, those mounting points are here and here. Can you see that? So they are these black brackets here, and the same on the other side. And they need to line up with these holes in this curved bracket. And we need to make sure that none of these hoses and pipes and what have you are in the way. There's a little hose at the bottom here for this oil pump. I'm going to fit that first because I'm not going to be able to get to it again otherwise. So trying to hold all of this together, we then need to turn it over and keep everything all lined up, which is not that straightforward. Okay, seems to be lined up, so I'm just going to hold that together. We have 2 AM screws, which I probably should have prepared in advance, but let's get those out. Get one on the screwdriver. We go down through the hole in the bracket, and hopefully we'll feel it tighten up. Yeah, that's fitting. And there's one. Second one goes in there. And that one hasn't, I can feel that hasn't done up. Yeah, the bracket's not in place properly. Let's try that again. I'm just going to use my lens with a lamp in it to see why this bracket isn't engaging properly. I think it's just a matter of getting it lined up perfectly, which is hard to see when it's all the way down there. Let's try it again. Okay. Okay, that's better. I feel like they could have used slightly longer screws. It's a very short screw in a very small bracket, and there's only 2 of them, so if you cross thread it, there's not much holding the engine in place. But I suspect there are going to be some other brackets that hold it in later, because two little screws there. Yeah, there's one on the back of the transmission. So let's see if we do that. Yeah, we do. So we take another CM screw. And the transmission has a bracket on it about here, and that goes, let's clear the desk, that goes through this hole here in the chassis. So we pop that through there. Again, you've got to make sure it's 100% lined up, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay. And that was the final step. So we now have an almost complete engine attached to a big chunk of chassis frame. There's, as I've mentioned in previous videos, there's a lot of hoses have just dropped off, because they do, and I'm not even going to consider doing anything with them yet until we get a bit closer to the end of the build. Some of them are going to need to be reinserted with tweezers, and I will put a little bit of glue on the end as I do it to stop them coming off. But I'm not really going to do too much of that at this stage, because they'll just come off again. So that was the end of issue 18, and we've got a really chunky piece of car. Look at that. Doesn't it look great? It won't be long before we're going to be able to start putting some suspension pieces on, and maybe even some wheels. But it's great when you get to that stage where big pieces start to come together. It starts to look more like it's going to be a car. So really looking forward to the next stages. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps with the channel promotion. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.